Welcome to Toffee TV. It's our daily update when we don't really update anything other than what we're told and what's going on. Joined by Andy the Piv. Andy McGregor is his real name. The Piv. If you're regular Toffee TV, watch it. Of course. At the moment, it seems to be swinging each day, and there's a different. I mean, Pellegrini's just been. Before we talk about these, Pellegrini's just been thrown in to the mix. So
they said that the intermediaries have been in touch, which means agents between the club and him. Why wouldn't he have contacted him before this? I don't know. I think Pellegrini's just put.
And as if Everton are looking at Pellegrini.
Well, you know, I'm not saying the are or the aren't, but I think it's quite a loose. But then again, that affects the betting markets, which, as we know, are very volatile, so it doesn't really mean much.
Yeah, true. Obviously, Paul Joyce, I think, has done an article today. We know that he's normally very well connected to certain board members.
Yeah.
And a lot of his information is quite accurate, isn't he, for a journalist? And he come out with a list today, or named people on the list, obviously. Rafa Benitez was the headline grabber for the simple reason of who he is.
If you're looking to sell papers and click,
well, that's what I mean.
You would leave Rafa.
And if you actually read what it said was he's under consideration, which I mean probably most people on the list were, but he named 6 people on it. So it was Rafa, David Moyes, who I think will stay at West Ham. Roberto Martinez.
Is it 2014?
I don't know. Roberto Martinez.
Yeah.
Christophe Gaultier, who
I think
seems to have piqued a lot of people's interest, doesn't he? Graham Potter, which I don't know. Some people are very, very underwhelmed with. Other people, I think, are running with the imaginative side of it and are looking at maybe what he can do. So we'll have a look at all of these in a minute. And obviously, Nuno Espirito Santo, who, having read the Athletic article on him this morning, I don't really want him anywhere near Everton if they are his demands. Just out of that group of people, just give me like a top 3 in a ranking order who you'd go for.
Oh, it's not the greatest list, is it?
No, but just
if that's the list, of course. We're at the whim of journalist information at the moment, I guess, because obviously the board are making decisions and they don't tell every man and his dog what they're doing. For me, I guess it depends what you want to do. I think Christophe Gaultier will probably be number 1 based on what he's done in Lille, what he did for Saint Etienne, consistent level of performance over 10, 11 years now. Obviously, with young players developing them under Luis Campos at Lille. Then I think Graham Potter would be next for me. Whether you like him or not, there's a lot of tick, but as I said, don't shoot me. There's a lot of boxy ticks. In terms of developing players, identical style play, improving players. I think that's, he's done well. He did well in Sweden with a very small team, got into the last 32 of the UEFA Cup, and he has not really done much yet in the Premier League. All performance indicators can say that Brighton are better than they were last season, whatever. And then probably, then you get into the chaff, I guess. And, I think Roberto Martinez would be a distant third, I suppose.
Do you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't go back to Moyes, if I'm honest. I think they loved David Moyes when he was at Everton. I just don't think you should ever go back, even though Martinez, we would be going back. And Rafa Benitez, no thank you. I'll leave it at that. Who's the 6th?
Nuno.
Oh, I don't mind Nuno. Nuno would probably be 3rd, generally, for me. Obviously, the issues with the staffing and stuff like that were up at the Palace. I was told Palace it was done, and then obviously the demand started falling in, so... No, probably. I'd say Nuno would be again a much more distant third than the top 2. But yeah, I think Nuno did all right at Wolves. I think people obviously see this season where they fell off the pace, but they lost the best striker in Jimenez. Jota went, Doherty went. Had to bed in young players: Fabio Silva, Patina, Ryan Aït-Nouri. Difficult. First 2 seasons they finished 7th. One of the best defences in the league. Pretty good attack as well. I don't think he did quite a good job. Obviously, with the Mendes links coming in with that's a bit of an issue probably for the club as well. So, yeah, Mendes would be 3rd out of them.
Yeah, the Benitez one is obviously he's been linked with Everton many times, hasn't he? Over the last couple of years, especially, and people won't forget the small club jibe and all that, and nor should they.
Yeah.
Tactically, he's a decent manager, isn't he? But someone like Rafa Benitez, I just think you're setting him up. You would be setting him up to fail before he started at Everton. I think. I know he went to Chelsea and they hated him. They didn't want him. Their fans. And he went in and fronted it up and he won them a UEFA Cup and he got them in the Champions League places and then he left and he hated being called the interim, which they used all year, didn't he? So he has got the cojones to go and front up where people don't like him. But I just think coming in here and in this city as well, because his Liverpool connections, it's an uphill battle.
This is what, to me represents sort of what Carlo represents to me, 18 months ago, 2 years ago, in the fact that I think Rafa was a very good manager in the early mid-2000s. I think he showed in the early 2010s he was still a good manager. And he hasn't done, for me, anything of note for 6 years. Newcastle was, he did, all right with them, didn't he? He got relegated, he came back up and he steadied themselves in the Premier League. I think he's on his way down more than he's on his way up or at a level that we want to be at. And I think that Everton should avoid managers like that. Don't be wrong, he's obviously got supporters on Merseyside. Jamie Carragher's obviously did an article saying that he should be the manager. And I just don't, if you look at it like this, I think Rafa plays a style that's very economical. We've just had Carlo played an economical style. No, it was Carlo Ancelotti, the fans didn't like it. Rafa doesn't tend to play a lot of young players. He had a lot of issues with Stevie Highway and others at Anfield over the academy. He can be quite a divisive figure, especially when he doesn't get his own way. And then listen, at the end of the day, you're the manager, you want everything to go the way you want to do, so I've got no problem with people doing that. Everton need to unite as a club, though, so is he the right sort of personality to come in at Everton? I'm going to say no on that. Don't be wrong, I respect Rafa Benitez, where he did at Valencia, where he did at Liverpool, fantastic, but I don't think he's right for Everton at this time. Yeah,
I mean, there is obviously, like we've said, there's evidence he is a good coach, there's no question about it. Done well for Napoli as well.
Yeah.
But he's been in China of late, which is a different thing. Did well at Newcastle, I guess, he did well at Newcastle, didn't he? They didn't have any money and he had them
a bit, though.
He had them quite competitive, though, really, didn't he? And he stayed with them, got them back promoted and all that. But I'm with you, he's one I'm the least warm to. And I understand why you'd look at him if you're looking at everything that's in front of you, the landscape in front of you, I think you have to have a look at him. But I think once you go deeper, you have to look a little bit deeper. What will he do? What will he bring? What's his relationships like at clubs? He fell out with people at Real Madrid. He fell out with people at Newcastle.
Napoli.
He fell out at Napoli. He fell out at Liverpool ultimately.
Yeah, he did. Hicks and Gillette, yeah. Rightly, maybe, but
he did fall out with them, and they needed Roy Hodgson to calm him down after him for a little bit, just to
buffer,
to put the fires out, didn't he? And so he's one, I think, a lot of Everton. There'll be some Everton. I've seen a few Evertonians going, I'm prepared to ignore the Liverpool thing. He's a big name and he's a good coach. And I've said this all week on this. It's not my place to tell people that their views are wrong, because they're not. Everyone's got their own opinion.
Decision, yeah. No problem with
that. But for me, just a personal decision, I'd hope he would be further down the list.
He's not others. For me. I'm not going to make any big declarations, but he's not for me.
Yeah, okay. I'll read a couple of comments and then we'll move on to somebody else. Michael Smith says, Baz, did you see the new Martinez documentary behind the scenes with Belgium? I haven't. It was good, but gave me PSTD, like I was in war. Having flashbacks, heard him talk about footy positive all the time. Couldn't have him back here. Posty Phil says, please not Martinez again. Crimson VRS says, right winger more important to bring in than a manager. He says, well, maybe not more important, but a priority. No, it is. It definitely is a priority, without a shadow.
Depends what manager you get, though, because I guess if you brought Nuno, he would play 3-4-3. So yeah, you wouldn't need a right winger. But then if you brought someone who played 4-4-2, it depends what different types of right winger than you would need before.
I think we need, for me though, and even
you need a fluid squad.
I fully accept what you're saying, and you're right. But I still feel like we do need that wide player who's pacey.
You do.
Whether we play a 4-4-2, whether we play a 4-3-3, whether we play a 3-4-3.
Versatile, I guess.
But I think we do need to look at right back. I would say
we prioritise that.
It's hugely important, isn't it?
People in the club have said right back's the first port of call. I think because there's only Coleman, isn't there, really, who's a natural right back. So they want someone in there to fill in, and then when they start moving Bernard and others out, then obviously they start looking at the other positions.
Yeah. Michael Schmidt says, all right, Baz, mate, did you see your tweet about wanting Big Dunk made it to the Everton Daz Twitter page? The thing is, I am an Everton, I'm a dad. I'm an Evertonian. So therefore, there you go. Listen, Twitter is what it is. My tweet about Dunk was merely saying that over the last few years, that game was the best I've felt about Everton. The best being connected to my club again was that day when the fans were amazing. Dunk was the manager, the players give everything. I've gone on and said I'd love Gaultier, or I wanted Ralph Rangnick as the manager, to be honest with you. Or Lucien Favre, someone like that. But ultimately, I want our club to go forward. So listen, if it makes some fella happy who's sat in his bills in his ma's bedroom on Twitter, then sound fair play to him.
That's the most unfunniest page on Twitter
it's
I've
nonsense.
ever seen.
It's nonsense. But listen, each to their own, isn't it? Each to their own.
I've been into it.
Liam Floyd says, no to Benitez, don't want him anywhere near Everton. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Seamus O'Brien says Nuno or Eddie Howe.
You know.
Okay. Liam Floyd also says if Benitez gets appointed, the fans won't take to him and it'd be worse than Allardyce. It could well be. It could well be worse than
divisive, isn't it?
Allardyce, but that's what I'm saying. You're giving people someone an uphill task right from the get-go, aren't you?
If you start losing, you're also, and Everton fans react to Liverpool fans a lot. Liverpool fans will be Agent Rafa and stoking the fire. It'll make it worse. It just will, whatever reason. Michael
says, all right, Baz, what was Wales like, mate? Full of idiots like here in England, all nice and quiet. It was lovely. It was lovely. It was roasting, and it was lovely, and it was going so quiet, like Bjork said. It was lovely, and then obviously Carlo left, and my phone blew up, and then that was it. Crimson VRS says Piv announcing he's the manager.
I don't think so. I haven't got my C licence. Never mind, my 8 Pro licence.
Wormy Spoons says, all right, Piv and Baz, how's it going, lads? Says, Andy, what's your opinions on Lille's recruiting and Gaultier with Luis Campos?
Yeah, great. He's identified it's not too dissimilar to Leipzig in a way. Obviously, they have done some older players in now. Obviously, Yilmaz Fonte, who's been particularly good, Jose Fonte, they've been good this season. Yeah, I think they took on reclamation projects like Renato Sanchez. I think Jonathan David is a good player. Didn't start the season very well, but towards the end of the season, really key. They've done well. Don't get me wrong, not every one of them has been a smash hit, but they're smart in the market. They took on players for less than, big. They don't pay really more than 15 million to say. They sold big for Pepe and people like that. Oshimengo, they got 80 million for him as well. Really smart, yeah. I think I'd expect Luis Campos to go somewhere. I know he was linked with Real Madrid. He's been linked with Nice. Really smart guy, yeah. I think he's really good. Whether he could do that in the Premier League, it's a much different matter altogether. He could do, if you get the right manager to, blood your ideas and improve players. That's the key. It has to be in the right culture though. Lille with Gerard Lopez, who made this money using data and wanted to sell players on. That was the whole thing. They even took a stake in a Portuguese club, Vitória de Guimarães, to try and do the same. But it all fell apart because obviously they had to lend money off a company that lends football clubs money, and then once that they couldn't pay, they took the club off them, and that's where they are now, Liam.
Mad, and they have been incredible, haven't they? I mean, you're right, can they do it here? Would people be as patient with a club getting built like that with the young players? It is, there's pressures of the money in this league, in the Premier League, isn't it? It's a different thing, but he can definitely spot a player.
Yeah.
How much, this is an interesting one because we will get on to Gaultier in a minute, but how much credit do you give Gaultier with that? Do you think it is down to him, or should the credit really be with Campos?
No, it's both in different ways, I guess. I think it'd be very easy to go without the players Campos buys. Gaultier wouldn't have won the title, of course he wouldn't. But then on the flip side, Marcelo Bielsa was the manager. They were bottom of the league, and then Gaultier came and took over, and and ever since then they've been gangbusters as a club. So you do need the right manager to take your vision and make it happen on the pitch. And I think Gaultier and him were a bit perfect act. I think that's why they were both linked to Nice together, because they wanted to do it again.
Fair enough. Wormy Spoon says, get Piv, we would get young, exciting talent. Sol says, we need a clear identity and a long-term recruitment process to suit this. Rafa is the opposite of this for me. Be 3 or 4 defeats away from meltdown. 100%.
We're always 2, as someone said, we're always 2 or 3 away from a crisis, aren't
yeah, we would be 1 or 2 then maybe with Rafa. Piv for manager, says Nicholas Brown. Hakon Isaac Sarak says, Pellegrini is a proper team jumper. Really hope they steer clear of it. I just don't see that either, to be honest.
He would have been on the original list, and this is the first time he's been mentioned, unless everyone on the list has said no. No. Mad. Michael Devlin says, hi, why shall we take Rafa if he said we were a small club? It's hard to forget things like that, isn't it, really? You know.
Yeah. On Gaultier then,
Mm-hmm.
We just spoke about him, obviously. Coming at Lille, he was 17th.
Yeah.
And obviously shorted them, and he ended up second and then first. Is he the right fit for Everton, do you think? Is he someone who you think...
It depends how you look at it. I think style-wise, very stout defensively, Lille, limit the quality shots quite low. Going forward, they're pretty good. And to be honest with you, I had to look at long term. So I had to look at numbers going back to 2014-15 when he was at Saint Etienne. Same year. And apart from one outlier year in 15-16 where they fell off the charts and went 8th, and they didn't sell any players. I don't know. It was just an off season. It can happen. The rest of the time, they were always top half team in both categories. Didn't really have a lot of money. Develop players. Yeah, he did really well. At Lille. Aubameyang obviously came through when he was at Lille. I think that's Saint Etienne. Yeah. Okay. No, I think for Brands and where the club is now, I think if Brands is going to become the man and we're going to get the best out of Brands, whether people are happy with what he's done so far, there's no point in giving him another 3-year deal if he's not going to be allowed to do what we employed him to do in the first place. And I think a Gaultier who used to work with the director of football, who's not someone who pushes his own ideas onto the board or into about players, and he works together with and I think that's a better union than Carlo and Brands was in that sense. And I also think I think he's someone who, while we can build a squad at the same time, he can keep a level of performance quite high as well. Yeah, I think you look at Potter. I think we spoke about it before. You might have to take a step back for the season. Maybe you'd finish 12th, 13th or whatever, while you're getting those players. And I think Gaultier can be flexible enough to keep us in around those 7th, 8th, whatever it may be, while rather than those athletes, those players. Yeah,
he's an intriguing one, isn't he? Because obviously people will cite the no Premier League experience. This is a tough league. It's a tough league, isn't it? Yeah. But people will cite that as a reason why, a negative against them. But then, and I know, listen, Jurgen Klopp might be on a different level, I don't know, but he didn't have any Premier League experience. We know Pep Guardiola's incredible, but he didn't have any Premier League experience. Right. But plenty of other managers have come in. Conte, Sarri, they've all come in, and Josie, when he came over, didn't have any Premier League experience. So if you're getting a manager from abroad, then that will always be levelled at them.
Well, the best managers Arsene Wenger came from Japan.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, you've got to start somewhere. You've got to start somewhere. You've got to come from somewhere. Poch came from Espanyol. He got relegated while he was there as well. Southampton did well, got the Tottenham job, and look where they ended up. I guess in some ways you have to be less snobby. I think English Premier League fans can be quite snobby about where people come from. You just got to be open-minded. You've got to look at where people started. I'd look at Allegri. Allegri starts like a 6th division club. Everyone wants Allegri this summer. You've just got to be realistic. I think he's done well with Saint Etienne. You could say in some ways he's like like a Moyes type in France.
The thing with him is he does have Premier League experience because he's assistant manager at Portsmouth. Yeah. So he has been involved English, in the Premier League, speaks English. He's 54, so he's a good age as well.
Experienced.
So yeah, I mean maybe he is the right fella for Everton.
Good fit, yeah. To improve players, people can remember back when Renato Sanchez was at Swansea. He was kicking the ball out of play. Whatever happened that season, I don't know. Bayern obviously lost interest. He had a decent comeback season. Bayern went to Lille now, and people are looking at him £40-50 million again. That's a proper reclamation project.
So what you're saying is Alex Iwobi's going to turn into...
I'm not saying Iwobi, but there might be one or two players. Holgate, for example, had a bad season this season, a decent season last season. Those type of players in the right manager will get better now. I'm not expecting them to turn into Pepe or you know whoever. But you look at if you look at Lille in terms of Pepe had a decent season. Then he's obviously had a great season. Then he got sold. There was a big turnaround in form there. Right? Those type of manager, what Everton needs. Rafa obviously is good at getting a level of performance, for example. But Everton also needs someone who's going to come in and make players better. Because we need assets at the end of the day. We talk about FFP enough in our lives, but we need assets to sell. If we could get Iwobi back to a decent level, I'm not saying he'll ever start for us again, but if where Palace or someone go, actually, he's had a decent season there, coming off the bench, we'll pay 15, 20 million pound for him. That'd be great for Everton, wouldn't it? Let's be honest.
If you tell me you can turn Delph into Fernandinho, then you can do one. Because it's not.
Well, look at Jose Fonte. He was finished when he left the Premier League. I think was he at West Ham and it didn't really work out. And he's gone away and he's just won a title in the centre back. No, don't be wrong. It's a different league. It is a different league for France, but. Still, Yilmaz, first season, scored 16 goals. He's done a marvellous job.
He's the one that seems to be the...
I think he's the most exciting. I think, I think Potter's the other one that people... I know a lot of Everton fans are unsure on him, but, I understand that he's not done great at Brighton yet, but, some of those... Robert Sanchez has gone from nowhere to being starting to start for Spain. These players, the Basuma was pretty good, obviously, for Lille. Yeah. Gone to Brighton this season, last season, he's become a 40, 50 million pound player.
14 million he bought him for.
Yeah, exactly. There's these players are starting to... Ben White, I know he's only had them for a season, but still,
improved, and he's gone the Euros.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair enough. Sol says Galtier defo for me. Evertonian Luke says it's just underwhelming with all the managers we've been linked with. There's no one who stands out as such. I'm all for giving Dunk a go because honestly I don't think he'd do any worse than Nuno or Howe. It's
just the only thing for Dunk is, and I said to you, in the past I've been unsure of whether Dunk, because he's obviously inexperienced. The only thing for Dunk, I think, I wouldn't say no to Dunk. I'm not like dead against it like some people. I just think that the issue for Dunk is if Everton were a smaller club maybe, or it's Machine's got a lot of vest in this, and on first time manager, you weighing it up, it could be a big risk. That's saying that no more of a risk than Arteta was last season for Arsenal. Worked out first season for him, not so much this season. I can understand why Dunk's probably not as high up because of his inexperience, but I've got no problem with Dunk at all. I think.
Yeah, fair enough. James Dunlop, no to Martinez from me. Soph says it's underwhelming, that list. I know, but what can we do, Soph?
If that's the list.
If it is the list.
So, the journalists only have a finite number of sources. The lists obviously can be slanted by the person giving it, because obviously that person will favour who they like. They might have missed out a couple of names. We could have spoke to certain people and they said, no, I'm going to take a year off, whatever. Man City Pep took a year off, didn't he, between Bayern and Barcelona. People want to do that. They might want to say, I'm not going to take a job this year.
Froome Pinto, to someone we've just actually been speaking about off camera, but says a question for the Piv, what do you make of Jesse Marsh? Just spoke about Jesse,
Jesse Marsh has just gone to Leipzig. I think, we were talking, me and Baz were talking about him and Jim Curtin, two American managers. Actually, Matarazzo's the Stuttgart manager. They're three, exciting managers. They play good brand of football. Americans really into development coaching. I think Jesse's got a big chance this year at Leipzig. And the world's his oyster. I think if he does well at Leipzig, I think he could probably, if he never went to Leipzig, he might have got the Tottenham job. I think he would have been.
Do you think? Yeah.
With their NFL connections.
Yeah, possibly. Because he did well at Red Bulls.
Yeah.
They'd win the Supporters' Shield and then they'd get to the playoffs and wouldn't win it. They'd always fall short. He'd done well at Red Bulls and then obviously went to Red Bull Salzburg and did well there.
It's hard to gauge there because they are the preeminent side in the league. But
we'll see.
Well, yeah, so I like Jesse Marsh. I think he's going places.
Yeah. Crimson VRS says Galtier, Potter, Dunk, give him it next 100%. Will be experienced by then. Soph says Galtier be great. I wouldn't mind Potter, but the rest are a massive no. Froome Pinto says Ruben Amorim. Spoke about him the other day, didn't he?
He's only been in the job, 18 months, won the title in his second year. I think Ruben Amorim's great. I think he'll end up doing really well. But I think, again, people will go Portuguese league. Yes, we'll be in Europe this year, so we'll see more of them. Yeah,
definitely. Dave Max says Galtier would have 90% fan support, but take any of the other contenders and it dropped to around 70%. And maybe even lower for Moyes or Rafa.
I think the key for Galtier is that winning the title over PSG really did help massively. I think that I think with that's tangible success. The issue you're going to find is there's though people go, oh, I knew he was the wrong choice. That's all. People turn quite quick, unfortunately. But I think Galtier will get the back of the fans. And, obviously, I think he's got a good personality. He seems to be someone who can grab the fans' attention. He's quite passionate. I think the only two French managers you people consider would be him or Julian Stéphan, but Julian Stéphan's not ready probably for a club of Everton's level. Yeah.
Random Uploads 1987 says, do you think we're all throwing around names, or do you think Everton will surprise us with someone completely out the blue?
No, because I think now with the internet, the data that you've got, I think it's quite easy to sort of narrow down names. I don't see Everton going for someone like Materazzi with Stuttgart. I don't see, De Zerbi went to Shakhtar. I didn't see Everton getting someone like them. They're I suppose the hipster manager names, I guess. But the sad thing for Everton is, I guess, 2 months before Everton came into the market, Rose, Glasner, Hutter, all went out. Nagelsmann, I know he probably wouldn't have came here, but all went elsewhere. All those changes in Germany, Marsh, obviously.
4 months earlier.
So there's 5 or 6 managers there who Everton would have looked at. It's basically all the best German managers were taken away from Everton. So that's what you're up against.
Simon, really. Isn't it?
Yeah, you see, even Valley and Ishmael and Thomas Frank, who are probably the 2 big names, Steve Cooper, the big names in the Championship. They haven't really been. I don't think Everton even considered them, which shows that they think the list they've got is of a higher caliber, I guess.
Yeah, fair enough. I've seen Cooper linked with Palace.
Palace, yeah, he spoke to them.
Palace, yeah. Stu Mack says Rafa, no, Premier League is no longer a 4-team league. Martinez, he's pathetic. Okay. Gallardo, Bielsa, pupil, and plays expansive football. Tick, 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 tick.
I'm a big Gallardo fan. As you know, I've been banging this drum for years, but he doesn't speak English. I think that's one knock against him. They've never won the league, which is another knock against them. I know they've been unbelievable in the continental competitions.
Yeah.
I think it'd be hard to convince Machine that someone coming from South America is the right choice.
He'd have to go to Holland or something.
This is the entire thing. You with the Premier League, they go somewhere and then they end up too good for you. I was talking about that. Alexander Isak, the striker. Every club in the Premier League were offering for 9 million in 2019. No one said yeah. Now Real Sociedad wants 60 million.
But we did try to get him, and he chose Dortmund over
That was
us.
years, but it was 2
and he
years
was
before.
17. No, I know, but I'm saying we did actually go for that.
9 million.
We spoke to him, but he went to Dortmund. So
there you go.
What can you do? Because obviously he probably thought the path.
Well, Dortmund's pathway is great, yeah.
Better.
Fair enough.
Matthew Berkeley says cannot get Rafa, China and Newcastle's last 2 jobs. Not particularly charismatic. Doesn't play exciting football. Called us a small club. Ex-Copite. Got to be better options everywhere. Bin him off. Okay. Ziz Azizov says no Rafa. Dr. Schlong, what a name. We have an opportunity to take the club forward with a philosophy and identity. Choosing Rafa would not fit that mould. Galtier and Potter will be more open to being part of the club's ideas. What I would say let's talk about Graham Potter.
Okay.
We spoke about Galtier, and I think he's the one. He's the path to least resistance, I think.
Yes.
With Evertonians, Galtier, I think everyone who doesn't love a manager who does a forward roll or a backward roll when they score a goal. You've got to, and at his age, he's about 54, good yoga, likes his yoga, looks good.
Good athlete, yeah.
So therefore, he's a big tick for me out of what I've seen. You're right, and this is just a disclaimer under this. I am not a Lille season ticket holder, so I haven't watched loads of Lille. I've seen evidence on the pitch in terms of some of their attack and play and goals they've scored, but I don't watch them all the time.
Players who sold as well come to the Premier League. You can see, they've done well.
But that's what I'm saying. I couldn't sit here and go, Lille are brilliant, and they play home and away. They're like, because I don't know. I've just seen evidence over the last couple of years. I've seen highlights, some of the games, watched them against Chelsea, things like they were very good.
Full team, yeah.
When Gabriel was there, wasn't it? Because we were watching Gabriel. Good side, and obviously he's done well. Potter, we've seen a lot more of. We've seen a lot of Brighton, especially the last year when we've watched the games have just been on to put on. I've said to you loads of times, they create 1 million chances. The amount of games I watched them, I remember the United game, we spoke about this yesterday, but remember the United game last season where they lost 3 when United got the pen after the game had finished. And they should have beat United about 11-2. They destroyed them, but they missed about 4 million chances. And that just sticks out with me with Brighton, that they missed loads of opportunities.
So the way we look at the way you look at manager data, I guess, is you're looking for performance trends. So the reason you look for performance over results is at the end of the day, some managers haven't got the players to get results continually.
Yeah.
But don't be wrong, it still falls on the back that they need to get results. And Graham Potter, let's be honest, overall hasn't got the results, which is why Everton fans are questioning him. However, if you look at the chances that they create and the quality of the chances, it's the top 8 side in terms of the volume. They create more chances than Everton last season. Now Neil Maupay, who's their striker, at a 12% conversion rate.
Yeah.
Dominic Calvert-Lewin, 20%. So 8% might not sound a lot, but it is a lot. You know, a couple of games, you're talking like 9-10 points difference there with a couple of goals, and that's the difference. Defensively, outside of the big 6 in Aston Villa, they concede the least goals. In terms of quality of chances they concede, I think they were 4th in the league. So all these numbers are really impressive, and as a coach, you know, I don't know if people really followed them when they were as Östersunds. They were a big fairy tale story, a very provincial, small Swedish town. They got to the last 32. They beat Galatasaray in the UEFA Cup. They played Arsenal and got beat, of course. But he was quite not revolutionary, but they were quite interesting in the way that they did. They put on plays in the town centre of Swan Lake. I know we're not going to do that at Goodison, but
imagine Everton asking Everton to be
the players together. They took to Curtis Edwards and Jamie, I can't remember his name, Hopper, to Sweden conference level players. They played in the Europa League. He did all sorts of things there, and he did really well. He went to Swansea. They played good football. He got the job at Brighton, and yeah, I guess he hasn't got that tangible success that Galtier obviously has got. But in terms of an exciting manager, someone who can improve players, someone who gets a better level of consistency out of other players, he's proven to be a really good coach. And this season, Brighton have blooded the goalkeeper who played at Rochdale last season, Robert Sanchez. He's now in the Spain squad. They brought Ben White, who played in the Championship last season. They bought 2 lads from Poland, Moder and Karbaunik, who you like. He had no problem hesitation throwing them in. Tariq Lamptey threw him in, out of the under-23s for Chelsea. He's got faith in these young players, and that's what I think Everton have got a reasonably exciting crop of youngsters coming through. And also, we haven't got, unfortunately, the financial flexibility to go out and spend 100 million on players every summer at the moment until we start creating assets. A coach like him who can get the best out of players. And he's also shown an ability to coach a team and put attacking processes in place and defensive where they create chances. Now they just need the better players to do that. That's all theory, I guess. Until he does that with the team, I guess that's the risk you're taking. There's a gap there where it's all theory until he does it. But no, he's a very interesting manager, I have to say. I think he looks like someone who could be a top manager, but we won't know until it happens, I guess, or it doesn't happen, as the case may be.
Yeah. He's not very exciting as a personality.
Is it Dan?
No, but I'm saying I'm not discounting him for that. I'm just saying that's one of the things. And I
no,
think,
he's not like a cult of personality.
But maybe Everton needs someone who's going to establish a style and a way of playing. And,
yeah.
And if that's the case, and you're going to let Marcel Brands have more control over who you buy in to the club, then maybe someone like Potter is the way forward.
Potter will probably bring Carl McCauley with him, who's his recruitment guy, and I suppose he then acts as a quality assurance with the recruitment team to say, yes, that's a player Graham could do things with. No, that's not a Graham type player, which helps. I think when it's the manager, sometimes managers are very bullish on what they want, and it's not always. You see, Carlo wanted Hammers in Haaland. We obviously bid for Højbjerg first, for example. They're similar but different players. So I think Potter and Brands will work well together because he works well with Dan Ashworth and Baldwin Stanley well at Brighton.
Yeah, he's definitely an interesting one. He's an intriguing one. He's one of them where it's if he gets it right, he could be fantastic. But
yeah, you wouldn't. I suppose you could look at him. People think he's probably the next Brendan Rodgers, I guess, in that sense. That's the way they look at him. He could be the next one if he does well. We won't know until he does it, I guess. It's very easy to say this fellow's going to be the next big thing, and they never.
And they aren't.
They aren't, no, and I suppose that's the risk Everton fans are worried about, is that he comes in and we end up in a relegation scrap. I don't think with better players you wouldn't. I think if you look at the transition, I know people go, well, we haven't got the players to play that way. He came to a Chris Hughton team,
and
they started, and don't get me wrong, they've not really surpassed what Hughton did, but they play a much more exciting brand of football. So maybe I like him. I say I like Potter on paper, but I do understand the concerns, and I have some of my own concerns about it. But I can understand why he's on the list.
One for me is that he's only won 18 Premier League matches, and Everton won 17 in last season alone. So that to me. But then
14 draws last season.
I guess the other side of that is who's got the better players.
Well, he's got Dominic Calvert-Lewin's the difference, isn't it, really? I think. But then Everton, I told you, I said to you in February, March, Everton have got a ridiculously high conversion rate, and if it comes down to normal levels, and we started dropping off, and I suppose I think Everton had a bit of a fluky season in a lot of ways. Don't be wrong, I think they had a much better season than Brighton. That's not pulling any punches there. However, I do think that Brighton were awfully unlucky at times, and I do think Everton were lucky at times, but again, you need better players, and I think Brighton can only get a certain level of player, and really Everton can get much better players. And I think he'd help Richarlison massively, actually. Yeah.
Fruin says, what do you make of Julian Stefan at Rennes?
He left, didn't he? I think he's a really good coach. I think the key for him is he was the Rennes youth coach, and Henri wanted him to go to Monaco with him because he's really highly rated, and he didn't. And whatever happened at Rennes, he ended up being the manager, and they got fourth. He got into the Champions League, and I think it didn't really work out in the end. But he actually was really good for Rennes, and I think his next role will be maybe Lille job or another job. But I think he's a really good coach. Yeah, I'm surprised he's not in for the Lyon job.
Okay, Zim says Marcelo Gallardo's very attached to River Plate. I don't see him coming to England. Jack Ritson says, I'd love Gaultier, to be honest, really suits us. Aidan John Sullivan says, Gaultier or Potter for me. Eamon Locane says, Gaultier in, bring some of the talent as well from Lille.
Costly.
Philip McDonald says, I don't want Rafa. I've been thinking, I'm not sure I could go to the match game with him there. I'd be paying for the season ticket. A
lot of said they pay for the season ticket but not go.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Who do you guys prefer between Aarons and Dumfries from Hayden Gaskell?
I think Norwich won 30 million roughly.
Yeah.
And PSV probably want around 50, maybe a bit less. I just don't think Everton are going to pay 30 million for a right back in this window, so I think it'd have to be Dumfries in this case.
Yeah. Corin says just give the job to Duncan Ferguson. Jamie B says, I remember tweeting you, Baz, saying if we get Bailey, I'll take you out for a pint. Doesn't look like we're going out, mate. Has he been linked with going anywhere, Bailey?
Not yet. No, the window hasn't started. The window's not going to kick off just after the Euros now. Yeah. Only apart from the Sancho deal.
Let's see. We might still have that bevy, mate. You never know.
Drink.
I don't even drink. I'll have a Coke or something. Celtic Vape says he'll always be the Spanish waiter who disrespected our club, so no way should he be allowed into the hallowed halls.
Some people asking for Steven Gerrard last week. He was a very good manager, by the way.
Carson then says, give it to Chris Wilder, serial winner, and is a proper blue boy.
Serial winner. He was very good at Sheffield United, I guess.
Very straightforward.
Chris is very straightforward. Chris is also someone who likes things his way. It's sad that he didn't get the West Brom job for whatever reason.
Didn't they badmouth him? So I believe in. I've never seen a journalist saying there was some negative comments, but that'll just be because...
I feel sorry for what happened to Sheffield United. Yeah.
I think
Chris will get a good job somewhere, but I think it'll be in the Championship again. I think the Premier League is a bit... after the fall off. George Bailey happened to George Bailey. Remember Ipswich came up, got fifth. In the second season, they got relegated. There's precedent for before.
It happens, doesn't it? Rafa Benitez is God. This is a Newcastle fan. Says, Newcastle fan here, we think Rafa is probably going to wait for the Newcastle takeover because Stavely wants him in an arbitration as soon.
Interestingly, though, Steve Bruce has done no worse than Rafa Benitez.
No.
It's weird, isn't it?
I don't think, and I don't think the takeover will go through anyway.
Not the one that you want to
No, not that one. They might get a different one, which whatever.
The Reuben brothers, by the way, have got enough money between the two of them to not involve the Saudis, so I don't understand why the Reuben brothers just don't do themselves.
The thing about that, like with the Saudi takeover thing with that though, is you can't, it's almost irrelevant now, having that money, you can't spend it. The way the rules are. Well, yeah, but they're going to get done anyway soon, Villa. Well, Grealish is going. The Grealish ain't staying there. You can't spend the money, so we've proved that.
You can only spend it when you sell players. You sold John Stones and Romelu Lukaku. Once you've done that,
you're gone. We've proved that we can't spend it. We've got billions to spend, and it's gone. It's the way the league has changed now. But I just don't see that particular takeover being allowed.
You always get 1 year. You'll always get 1 year, but unless you make do unbelievably in that 1 year buying players, it's tough. Yeah, fair play. I mean, he might want to go back to Newcastle. Well, he probably would want to go back to Newcastle. He wants to stay in this country.
He liked it up there, didn't he?
Why is he not in the Buy Palace? Not interested.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because that's a good fit, isn't it? London.
Because they want to do it where the youth get brought
Yeah,
through
and
and
that's
stuff.
the
And
thing,
Rafa,
isn't it?
and you think Everton want to do like that, but Rafa's not really the fit for that, is he?
Robbie Rhino says, please hit the like button. Nice one, Robbie. Mick Horton says, what about Duncan with an old Ed alongside him like a Peter Reid? There's no outstanding candidate. I think if you were getting, I love Peter Reid, I do, but I think if you were getting Duncan and you were trying to put an older Ed, I think you'd have to be someone who's in the game now as well.
Like Ray Lewington was for Roy Hodgson, someone like that. You need Ray Wilkins used to be the best of this managers to get. Younger managers from Chelsea bring in Ray Wilkins. He'd be the
guide.
Yeah, you need that. Don't get me wrong, Peter Reid's he's a great fella, isn't he? But he's not been in the game for what 4 or 5, 6 years. When was he? Was it Stoke?
He was at Wigan not long ago, a couple of years ago, wasn't he? But
at the top level.
I mean, I love Reedy, boss.
He was great. Do you remember that Sunderland documentary? People forget about that. Great documentary that was.
He was brilliant, yeah, definitely. Mathew Whistler says 500 watching, only 60 likes. I mean, there's 800 watching, but only 134 likes. There you go. Ethan says, hello lads, do you think with the punishment the so-called Big Six got will impact how much Everton spend in the transfer window? No, and look, if we break FFP, we'll get a points deduction. I don't see how the Premier League could even take anyone to task after what they've done with these.
Because they're not willing to take them to court over the word enter.
No, that's fine. And I've got, listen,
and I think
that's the way it is.
The financial rules are actually worded much more succinctly, unfortunately. The problem is for Everton, Villa, others about the Big Six. If you're an owner who's bought into the Premier League, you need those 6 clubs for your revenues, and sadly you're beholden to them in every way. And you saw that with this small amount of fine. I said months ago this had happened, but
the other 14 will have things.
They're not 3.5 million. Saying that the 30-point deductions for when if they do it again, so it sort of prohibits them from doing it again, doesn't it? £25 million fine.
They'll still be happening.
No wonder the Cronkies said they pay the fine.
Yeah, not bothered.
Some change in it for them.
Stuart Bradley says, let's have a public consultation and hopefully get a decision before we move into the new stadium. About what?
Been to the public consultation, haven't we?
Done 4 public consultations. Don't know what that...
Supposedly it should be starting in August, shouldn't it?
Yeah, don't know what that's about.
Maybe he thinks it's 2014 again because the manager list.
Yeah, maybe. Adam Brooks says, it's Seamus Coleman. Michael Chalice says, all right, lads, you both think the club are thinking long-term appointment or short-term till we get the stadium? Just with the poor list of managers, should we just be thinking short-term for now?
Well, a third of the list is long-term, isn't it? And we would guess would be Marcel Brand's picks. The others are more, let's stay where we are now and try and get Europe, sort of the plan that's been over the last couple of years. So I hope Brands wins out. If it is Brands, for all we know, Brands wants Rafa and Moyes. We know what Stephen Moyes does.
Zine says, could you ask Andy his opinion on, I'm going to be able to say his name, Kavicha Kavarych.
Oh, from Ruben
Kazan.
Yeah, he's a lovely player.
Say his name, man.
I can't say his name.
Okay.
It's Kalachavila, or whatever his name is. But
that sounds good.
To be honest, I've only seen bits of him because I don't watch the Russian league. I'll be honest, that's not part of my remit. But very tricky winger, fast. Yeah, I think Leeds are in for him, aren't they?
Do you?
I think so. Yeah. Tough to come over from the Russian league. There's only one lad who's really done it, and that's Golovin, but he doesn't play every game for Monaco, but he's done quite well this season. That's without fans. Apart from that, Russians don't tend to travel so well.
No.
Because they get paid so well in Russia. Well, he's Georgian, but they get paid so well. So, we'll see how it goes, though.
Yeah. Remember thingy?
Georgie Kinkladze.
Oh.
Georgie Kinkladze.
No, Kinkladze's Georgian.
Oh, you mean
footballer, but Chekhov, who looked brilliant, and then come to Chelsea.
They had in the midfield as well, didn't they?
Alexei.
Who's the...
We had Billy. He wasn't great.
Billy was all right. It was just the wrong one.
Yeah.
The pace would have done Moyes there, but hey.
Yeah, that's true. Irish Hunter says, for the future of the club, it'd be a good idea for Dunk to leave the club and get his experience and then make himself a viable option.
If it went well, that's the ideal plan. I suppose for Dunk, it's a risk. Whatever he could have. I'm sure Dunk could have probably got the Dundee United manager job if he probably wanted it.
But
that's the Scottish League's very difficult. Obviously outside the top 2, you don't get a lot of money. It's
saying, and would that, even if he did well with them, would that qualify him for our job?
Then if you go into the League 1, League 2, or even the EFL, you've got to be sure of who the owners are. You've seen Sheffield Wednesday, Derby, it's all gone Persh or Pete Song, as they say for some. It's very difficult at the moment, I think, for managers.
LR88 2027 says greetings from Loveland, Colorado. Not asked about Carlo leaving the football we played. It was horrible. Well, hello to Colorado.
Hello, Colorado.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, listen, Carlo has gone, hasn't he? And that's the way it is. We move on now. We move on. We just need to sort it.
Good luck to him at Madrid, eh?
Yeah.
Good luck to him.
Haley says, oh my God, it's a different name every day, Baz. I know, Haley, it's mad, isn't it? But just with Paul Joyce putting that piece today, and he is normally very well connected.
Yeah, him and Don King and Andy Hunter tend only to go when it's
there.
Death,
so that's why I think this list has got a little bit more. Let's have a look at the odds at the moment for the managers, just because Ned's looking at me. So working down from the bottom, Andrea Pirlo 20-1, Frank Lampard 18-1, David Moyes out at 16-1. Now he's expected to sign with West Ham.
The runners and riders, as they're called.
Yeah. Duncan Ferguson has now dropped from 4-1 to 14-1. Eddie Howe's gone out. Although these odds are out of date, Ned, because Eddie Howe is now the second favourite.
It's changed
at 3-1.
Now.
And
since we started recording,
the betting's been suspended on Nuno. So go on, carry on.
Rafa had his betting suspended yesterday.
Yeah, and Eddie Howe's the day before. Pellegrini 8-1, Galtier out at 6-1, Graham Potter 5-1, Rafa Benitez 3-1, Nuno as at 13-8, but apparently he's suspended now. Eddie Howe's gone back up. So listen, let's just.
I think the betting market.
Yeah, the betting market is literally just people
it's on snippets of information. So if someone went, I think Nuno's waiting for the Everton job. Someone go $5,000 in on Nuno. The betting companies still have to set the bet off elsewhere, so his odds will come right in. It's all people. At the end of the day, if I went and put $12,000 on Lucien Favre, I'm allowed to bet, by the way. But if I was allowed to, he'd go into evens because a load of money went on him. That's just the way it goes. There's no information on that, by the way.
Haley says, would you like Galtier?
Yeah, he's a good manager, yeah.
Okay. Bevan 3 says, what about Bielsa or Thomas Frank? Bielsa's not leaving Leeds for Everton.
He's a very, very particular man, Marcel Bielsa. I think Leeds is set up for him now. I don't think he's going. Who's the other one?
Thomas Frank.
I don't think Thomas Frank's ready for Everton. I think he's best staying at Brentford, seeing how they get on this season.
Yeah.
He was on the list for the Palace job for a while, but he kept dropping down the list for no reason.
Toffee Blues lads are in the comments saying, gotta be Galtier for me. All the other names are pretty underwhelming. Got to hope the board and Mashiri all come to the best decision for the club.
There's a lot of fans who turn to Galtier, maybe because they see him as the best of the bunch or whatever. Yeah, he's a good manager. I like him. I think he is. He would appear to be the best on the list that we've been shown. Yeah, I'd go. By the way, go and watch Lille. They're a fun side to watch and go and have a little look at them. They have fun.
Jack Hayes said, surprised there's no Dice talk this time around. Looked like he was a target before Carlo became available. I
think that Dice's reputation, although he's a very good manager, I don't think Everton board look at Dice. I just don't. I think Palace were interested for a while. I think with the new owners, he was waiting to see what the new owners would do, whether they give him money or more power. And it seems to be the plan that they've got more. He's got more power at Burnley, and he's going to build it in his own image.
Yeah,
so Dyche is very much like Moyes, but when at the end of Everton, where he had all the power, the whole club was built in his image.
Yeah,
you're not going to get that anywhere else, and I think Dyche is probably the best suited to stay in.
Michael Greenall says, nice to see Andy mention Glasner. Mort says, Ryan Lowe is looking for a reason to leave Argyle. Ryan Lowe's a Liverpool fan, I think. Don't think he'd want he probably would want the Everton job. Everton wouldn't.
He's fine where he is.
Adam Brooks says, the future of Anthony Gordon, Bernard, Moise Keane, Nielsen Kunku and other players who have or haven't played for the first team hangs in the balance because of this search. I don't think in Kunku or Gordon's future's hanging in the balance.
I think they'll probably go on loan anyway. The Mathew, the manager's going to have to come in and saying that. At the end of the day, Everton would have told any prospective manager or managers to start having a look at the squad. If you think that you've got a good chance at the job with your Galtier, with your, Graham Potter will know about Everton's squad obviously because he's plays in the same division. But if you Galtier, started doing your research now. So his assistants, whoever they may be, because I don't think he'll bring João Sacramento with him.
You Got 87 says, not to be funny, but if Graham Potter was called Graham Putio, we'd all want him.
I said this to you, if his name was Grahamo Passadero, everyone would be like, oh, he's the next best thing, but he just isn't, is he? So there you go.
Mad at it. Ben AFC and MFC 1979 says, as an Arsenal fan for 40 years, I love Everton, nothing but respect for them. Nice one, Ben. Cheers, mate. Always got respect for the Gunners.
You don't want to support us, though.
You're all right where you are. This is just...
You stay where you are.
Look at what we're doing, we're devastated. Daniel O'Connor says it is Andy heard of Benoit Badiashile at Monaco, French under 21.
Benoit Badiashile, yeah, he's a good player.
Left-footed centre-back.
He's one of the 50 centre-backs the France have got.
France have got unbelievable.
I think they want like nearly 50 million for him, which means that there's no chance of an Everton, but he is a very good young player, yeah.
50 million already?
Well, Monaco have got money, haven't they? And, Paul Mitchell's there now, so he'll know how to sell to the Premier League, being next Tottenham director of football. Lawrence Stewart's now the technical director, he used to be at Everton under Steve Walsh.
Fair enough. Wormy Spoon says Brighton bought Basuma from Lille. I feel like Potter is a step below Gaultier. We keep saying we need to get Basumas before the likes of Brighton.
Basuma's 45 million now. I don't think Everton got.
He's 14 though when they got him. I think that's the point.
No, they could do. And there's players out there like look at Tchouamani. I liked him when he was 18 at Bordeaux. You would have got him for 14, 15 million. Now Monaco want 50, 60 million for him. These players are there. It's about risk and appetite for risk. I think top clubs like Everton don't tend to take those risks as much. They wait for them to go to other clubs, which is why it's so expensive.
Belfast Toffee says, just saw Zidane boarding Alice's yacht in Saint-Tropez.
Mild.
Yeah. Good thinking. Good binoculars. Sahar Mazad said, would Everton go for Sergio Conceição of Porto? We've mentioned last week, wasn't he, Conceição, but there doesn't seem to have been any.
No, I don't. He's a pretty good manager. I just don't see him taking the style points for. They sold a lot of the young players, haven't they, mostly to Wolves.
Izzy Bato says, Baz, I'm telling you, Eddie Howe is the favourite now on loads of popular sites. Fair enough, mate. Again, it is what it is. I don't see.
To me, Eddie Howe is going to have to get himself back. I'm surprised he didn't take the Celtic job for whatever reason. I'm surprised. Obviously, Antis took it. I'm not going to say his second name because I can't pronounce it. But yeah, I'm surprised Howe didn't take it. I think that he thinks that he's shooing for the Brighton job if Potter leaves.
Do you? Yeah. Do you not see him getting the Everton job?
I'd be surprised.
Yeah, I would.
I think he's probably got supporters. But you could guess who that'd be. But I'm not too sure. He didn't. He did, even though he's probably done more than Potter's done, I guess, in his career. I don't think he feels as exciting as Graham Potter does as a coach. I think how once that promotion team broke up, I think they had struggles getting partnerships going in the team again. I don't know. I
can't get past the 40-odd million he spent on Sri Lanka and Jordan Ibe.
I like Tom Solanke, you know.
Roger Schmidt, why is no one looking at him, says Archie.
PSV weren't great this season, to be fair, and Roger Smith needs to do a bit of rehabbing, so I think if they do well next season, at Leverkusen, they had games where they win 5-3 and they had games where they lose 7-2, so I think he needs to have another rehab season, I think, Roger Smith.
Peter Collins says, if we are ambitious, as the board say we are, then there's only two worthy, Gaultier and Gallardo. Aidan
it depends what ambition you're thinking of, though. Everton, there's a gap. Everton obviously want to be a Champions League team, but there's years in between that where you've got to be consistent and good. And Everton haven't finished in the top 8, consistently bar twice in the last
5 years.
3 out of the last 8 years, something. So we have to become more consistent.
But then someone would say, but 5 out of the last 8 they have finished in the top 8.
Have they finished 5? So the Martinez 1, Koeman 2, and
Allardyce 3,
4, so 4.
Silva 4.
Yeah, it's 4 then.
There's only been under Carlo, we haven't. He's kept us outside the top 8 twice on the run.
True.
12th and 10th. And before that, it was Martinez, 2. And before that, you'd have to go back to 2005, 6 season that Everton were outside the top 8.
Last 2 seasons, they were trending outside, though, I guess.
Oh, I'm just saying.
We need to be more consistent.
Well, we got 59 points. We shouldn't have finished outside the top 8 this season, should we? We got no, it doesn't matter how good, bad, indifferent we were. Points total.
I'd like to see them. If we get 59 next season, I'll be made up.
Yeah, we'll be in Europe. We'll be in 5th or something, 6th or something with 59 next year. I can guarantee it.
Richard Keys just tweeted that we should be looking at Mark Hughes.
Well, we know Mark's agencies. Let's be honest. We all know Mark's agencies, and we all know who Mark's agents friends with. But he's not. He won't be on the list.
Why would we be looking at Mark Hughes?
Because Mark Hughes' agents, we know he is.
No, but I'm saying, imagine. Muchie97 says, Piv, why don't Everton ever look to South America for young talent? Always seem to be looking in Europe.
Before the Brexit work permit changes in December of last year, it was quite difficult to sign players from South America unless you paid 10 million, 40 grand a week. And if you're trying to sign an 18-year-old, you don't want to pay 40 grand to an 18-year-old, so it was a bit more difficult. Now with the work permit, you can get younger players in. I think not this season, I think next season following that, you'll start to see more South Americans come in. I think teams are establishing the South American scout operations as we speak.
Flash the Original says, happy with Potter, Big Dunk, Howe or even Marco Silva returning. Okay.
Come on.
Chris Spurrier says, but Baz, how wouldn't be in charge of transfers, so your criticism is dumbfounded. It's not dumbfounded, mate. 70 goals a season, every year, without being able to solve it,
to be fair,
is the worry.
Dominic Solanke nearly got them out of the Championship this year. I don't think he's going to be as bad a transfer as he looked when he was in the Premier League. But yeah, it didn't work. Brad Smith didn't work. Lerma, he's all right. Billing, I think Billing will end up back in the Premier League this year. He didn't do too bad transfer-wise. I just think that...
Eddie Howe for Everton.
No, I'm not, I'm not into it. I'm not into it, but I think the criticisms can be quite harsh of Eddie, but there you go, that's just me.
Izzy Bato says, if we end up with Eddie Howe, that's my season ticket getting binned.
You can't, at the end of the day, I'm just going to tell everyone, and this is the sad state about football, is you're powerless. Fans are generally powerless to stop it. At the end of the day, the owner's going to choose who he chooses. We're unfortunately just along for the ride, I guess.
Yeah. What can we do? There's not really much we can do, is there? We'll support them no matter what. We can all have people that we look at and go, I'd love it to be him, or I can get behind him.
That's why I said this time round, I would have had 10 I would have been told, I said about 10 managers, didn't I? I would have been, yeah, right, yeah, sounds. I think losing Favre was top choice, and there was logic to that, but when if he's not on the list, I'm fine with that, as long as they employ someone who's decent, and I think Galtier or Potter will be all right, yeah.
Yeah. What can you do? What can we do? What can I say? Flash the Original. If we turn back to Nez, it smacks of desperation. No thanks, he isn't right for us. Manuel Medellin says, my God, Eddie Howe's leading on the bookmakers. Doomsday is near.
Ignore the bookmakers.
Yeah. Ignore it.
He wasn't even on the list this morning. How's he got in with the bookmakers? Unless someone's got inside the knowledge, but even then. At the end of the day, I'd also like to point to this one. When the press says contacted, if he's on your list, you have to contact everyone on the list. You just do, because you need to find out if they're interested, if they're not, they can come off the list, and how much they want wages-wise, because I don't think we're going to be paying anyone Carlo wages this time round. Yeah. So you have to contact them. It doesn't necessarily mean the number 1 on the list, number 2 on the list, number 3 on the list. You just need their information. Yeah.
Paul says Potter. Adam Brooks says, whatever happened to Danny Drinkwater, former Leicester player?
He's in Kasımpaşa in Turkey. He's trying to revive his career. Good luck to him.
Where's this gone here? Toto plays White. He says, get Ron Atkinson back. Mitchell Bolton says, Noah Mashiri, how he loves fancy names, he might go for Heron Crespo. No. I
don't see Heron Crespo being... He needs to come to Europe and be manager before any of that happens. Wasn't he at Parma for a bit? Not as manager, but as an advisor or something. I know he's a manager.
He's gone now.
He was in defence in Justicia. Heinz has done pretty well. He's gone to Atalanta. He did pretty well in Argentina.
Rowan Whittingham says, I prefer Potter to Galtier. Better playing style, really exciting. He plays the way we wish Everton did.
People focus on this season a lot when they talk about Galtier, because he played 4-4-2, but last season and the season before they played 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3. You had Pepe, Kone, Bamba, Osherman. Quite exciting. They played good style of football. So, obviously Sumari came through. He's gone to Leicester. Thiago Mendes.
Dean Spicer wants you as the next manager.
No, thank you.
Samuel Thorndale says, I don't understand how people want Martinez back. They've clearly forgotten his last 2 seasons and how bad it was. All passion, no end product, couldn't run and had no heart.
Because people still remember how they felt after that first season. I remember the pre-season tour when we played Juventus. People were very happy with Bobby. I remember, as I said to Baz in the car, we haven't made a John B. Sloop song about Ancelotti, have we? Just haven't. There's a lot of love there.
George Keeley says, I think Roberto Martinez will be back. I reckon it's smoke and daggers, or smoke and mirrors.
It won't be till after the Euros, though, will it? So if it is him, you'll know, because the longer it goes on, the more it means that we're waiting for someone. I'm surprised Joachim Low's not on the list. Maybe he wouldn't be interested, but, you'd think that some teams would have checked with him, don't you?
Maybe they don't like the scratch and sniff. Probably wouldn't go down well at Goodison.
No, probably not.
So what can you do? What can you do? Right, 5 more minutes and then we're checking out. We're going to be live on the Footy Show channel discussing the Euros, aren't
Yay!
we? So that'll be interesting. So get over there if you want to talk about something other than Everton with us. Lee Moran says, Eddie Howe for me, boys, he will show 150% passion and loyalty as a Toffee. Brings the youth through the ranks.
More than 100%.
Hello. Neil Satter says, Gaultier ticks every box.
Does he?
Dylan says, how about Pellegrini? How do you feel about him, Baz? No thanks, mate.
7 or 8 years ago, yeah, he was great, but now, no. I loved him when he was at Villarreal.
Towards the end of Man City, he looked like he was done. Then he went to West Ham and just sat there like he
There was a lot of
asked.
issues at West Ham. And
but
he brought in his own director of football, Mario Hizios, and yeah, that didn't last long.
I want someone who's got energy, mate, and he looks to me like he's just...
He looks. He needs electrocuting?
I'll be honest, he looks like he needs electrocuting before he gets up in the morning. That's what he looks like. James McCann says, would you take Roberto Mancini?
No, I've always been vehemently against Mancini. I think if you look at, I think he's a good manager, but if you look back, he barely won the league with a great City team.
Yeah.
Inter got a touch of luck as a Calciopoli. The first title was given to them, and then the rest of the teams got relegated. So no.
Yeah, Mick Anderton says, as a West Ham fan, Pella's never inspired me. Not to say he wouldn't work out. No, but that's how I thought of it, mate, when I seen him.
Moyes
like
made
for West Ham
better. He's made a lot of the players that Pellegrini.
But the thing with Moyes is whether, like, I'm not saying Everton should try to get Moyes back, and I think he's staying at West Ham anyway, regardless, so it's irrelevant. But I think at least at Moyes with West Ham, at least he shows some passion. You can see him shouting and screaming, and he really he's bringing the team through the game. Where Pellegrini, to me, just sat next to that other fella. He looked like he smoked about 700 a day, and they just used to have the little conversations. So, not for me. Toto Plays says Ric Flair is favourite now. Fair play. Whoa. Yeah, he'd be there.
To be the man, you've got to beat the man, as someone once said. Learn to love it.
Guy X says Sky Sports have just said Rafa is highly unlikely. Mick Anderton also says he was Pellegrini was given plenty of money at West Ham.
He was.
There you go. Mancini has unfinished business here, I say, says Flash the Original.
Why has he still got a business open in Manchester?
I think so.
Tie shop, like Dave Mackay had in the 70s.
Who knows? Peter Collins says, careful what you wish for, guys. Nuno and Rafa are too defensive.
What was it? Goosebumps book.
Tar74 says it's between Gaultier, Potter and Nuno.
They're all not bad.
Free Derry says, everyone here in Derry loves the Scousers, can't wait for the new season. Paul says, I reckon we'll bell Klopp. See if he fancies it. He wants a challenge.
The look-alike Klopp or the actual Klopp?
I don't know. If Klopp wants a real challenge.
Well, what about the Alpine Klopp, your mate, Ralph Aspinall?
Oh my God. Yeah, imagine.
I like Ralph.
I know you do, yeah. Martin Randall says, I read that Nez didn't back out of Palace. Palace wouldn't meet.
Sounds like it's a 90s console, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Matthias Whistler says that Dunk turned down Rail for a chance here. I'm sure Carlo really liked him. I'm sure Carlo said, if you fancy coming with us, we can get something for you. But
I don't see that.
Duncan wants to stay here, doesn't he? Obviously.
I don't think Dunk would like to be outside at Real Madrid. I don't think.
No.
Foreign country, away from his family.
Yeah, definitely.
Madrid's much more laissez-faire.
Right, Andy, the last I'm going to finish with this one.
I've got a call to make.
Hi Andy, between Graham Potter and Christophe Galtier, who would you choose out of those and why?
Based on logic, I think Galtier's got more of a proven track record, so I'll choose Galtier. I do think Graham Potter, on paper, I've said this before, until he proves it's hard to know, but I think he looks to have a very good career as a manager ahead of him. He's only 46, I believe.
Yeah. Petra, there's nothing on Sky about Eddie Howe signing a 4-year deal, so don't fall. Someone's just trying to put it in and make us try and go for it. And because Ned's not here, it's sound. We're not falling into that trap. Right, listen, thanks very much for everybody who's joined us. Thanks if you've hit the like button, it's appreciated. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. We appreciate it. And like I said, at about 3:45, we're going to be live on the Footy Show channel. So the link is in the description. If you just want to have a chat to us about the Euros for a bit, get over there. Me and Andy will be doing that there. So thanks a lot for joining us. Take it easy. We'll see you later.